This episode of iFanboy is all about the Joker. Josh is going to talk about some of his favorite Joker stories, and then we're talking to Joker creator Jerry Robinson about some amazing pieces of art he's selling.
Hey, it's Connor from iFanboy, and today I'm here in DC Comics. Why am I here? Well, Jerry Robinson, the legendary creator of the Joker, and ComicsConnect.com are auctioning off some of Jerry's personal collection, two really famous covers, and we're going to talk to Jerry about that in a moment. But first, Josh has got some Joker stories you might want to check out.
Thanks, Connor. Since we're talking to Jerry Robinson, creator of the Joker, we thought it would only be fair to start off by talking about some of the greatest Joker stories, in this case, that I know of, my favorite Joker stories. To me, the Joker is pretty much the best supervillain that there is. He's my favorite of all the supervillains. He's the most, he's been around the longest. He's the most versatile. He sort of is aged really well. And he's genuinely evil. He's scary. And I really like that about him. So there's been so many stories. It's almost like everybody who wants to write Batman has a Joker story in them. But I thought I would, talk about a couple that I really like. First of all, the best one ever, in my opinion, is The Killing Joke by Alan Moore, Brian Bolland. You don't even need to be told that. The Killing Joke is fantastic, even if Alan Moore doesn't like it anymore. So just know that, but everybody knows that, so we're going to do some other ones. Okay, Death in the Family. This is my original. I bought this probably right after it came out. It's probably the first trade paperback I ever owned right here. Death in the Family is the story of the Joker killing Jason Todd, and it's grisly. This is the first time that you sort of get this idea about, geez, the Joker is a bad dude, and he goes to work as the ambassador for Iran and the Ayatollah in this one, which I think is a nice nod to the 80s. And then there's a really vicious beating with a crowbar on Jason Todd, and then blows him up afterwards, just for kicks. So that's a fantastic one. It actually ages okay. It's not so bad, and it looks really good by Jim Aparo. Okay, now this is the greatest Joker stories ever told, so you would think there would have to be one in here. I think there's a newer printing of it, but my favorite one in this always has to be The Joker's Five-Way Revenge by Denny O'Neil and Neal Adams. In this story, I don't even remember exactly what happens other than the Joker lures Batman into an aquarium where he has a hostage, and he says, "We have to tie you up, and then I'll let the hostage go," and then he dumps him in a shark tank, and Batman fights a shark, which is awesome. And then the Joker, of course, pushes the guy in the shark tank anyway, so Batman has to save himself, take care of the shark, and save the other guy. And then at the end, as the Joker is getting away, he slips in a mud puddle, or in some oil slick, and then Batman said, I never thought that I'd be glad for pollution, something along those lines, something delicious in 70s. But man, Neal Adams' art, it's a really gorgeous, and it's Batman fighting a shark. And the one thing I liked about Neal Adams' Joker is that he was really tall and long and lean. That was sort of like, he was sort of comically so. And it's like the right look. It's the one that I think of, like when you want to think of the perfect iconic Joker, this is what he looks like. It's that Neal Adams one. Now, last one, this is sort of my modern favorite, is from Gotham Central. This is the second hardcover from that series, and the story is called Soft Targets. I'm kind of ruining it for you because you don't know that the Joker is the villain at first, but Michael Lark drawing the Joker in this, it just makes him look real. He instead of having like a long exaggerated face, he just looks like a person who's a little off. And there's a scene in this where basically they've got him, he turns himself in, they've got him in the interrogation room, and it's just like the scene from The Dark Knight. It's almost the same thing. I think the movie one they took from this scene. And he's just scary, and he's crazy in this, but he's also really smart. He sets up these bombs and webcams all over the city, and the cops have to take care of it. It's a wonderful modern Joker story. Batman's only got a little part of it. Batman shows up at one point, and it's that really Spartan sort of Michael Lark Batman. He doesn't say much. He just sort of shows up and is scary. But it's a great story, absolutely, by Rucka and Brubaker. I'm not sure which one of them wrote this arc, actually. Maybe together. I think that's how they did them. But the art is really the thing that makes Soft Targets work, and it's just such a wonderful looking sort of realistic take on the Joker without being photorealistic, I guess is what I mean. That's one of my favorites. So now we're going to go and talk to the man who created the Joker. And he's selling some amazing art pieces that I couldn't even imagine hanging on my wall. I would like to. So.
I'm here with Vincent Zurzolo from ComicsConnect.com. How are you?
I'm doing great.
So tell me about the auction.
ComicsConnect.com is going to be auctioning off these two iconic pieces starting today, November 10th, and ending on December 1st.
So how did it come about? Tell me how you got in contact with Jerry and how it happened.
I've known Jerry for a number of years, and over the years we've talked about the possibility of buying his art collection, of selling his art collection for him, and finally this summer, several months after selling the first comic book for $1 million, which our company did in February of this year, and then breaking the record a month later in March of this past year at $1.5 million, which is the most expensive comic book ever sold, Jerry realized this might be the right time, because if the comic books could sell for those types of numbers, and there are multiple copies of the comic books around, what could the original art sell for, which is a one-of-a-kind piece?
So now, how is the auction market these days for comics? I mean, you broke the record twice, but how is it in general? Those are special issues.
What's been really interesting for us is, unfortunately, we have a recession, and that's not good for anybody. But we've been fortunate in that people are very skeptical about buying real estate. They're very afraid of putting their money in the stock market, and they're making no interest in the banks. So they're looking for tangible assets that they can put their money into where they feel there'll be appreciation, or at least a safety. And people are turning more and more to vintage comic books and original comic book artwork as a form of investment.
So are these pieces? Were you excited when you got these pieces in? I mean, these are pretty famous historical pieces. What was it like when they came in?
You're talking to a kid that used to scrounge through his parents' the couch pillows, trying to find an extra nickel or quarter to go buy a comic book. To me, to be able to be involved in this business as a livelihood, as a way of designing a lifestyle for myself, is a tremendous thrill. And to be part of something this historic is just, I can't put it into words as to how great a feeling it is to be sitting here with you and looking at this cover and this amazing cover, two of the most important covers ever made in the history of comic books.
I'm here with the legendary Jerry Robinson. How are you today, sir?
Great, thank you.
And we're here, there's an auction today.
Yeah,
with
fine today, very exciting.
Comics Connect's auctioning off two of your famous covers. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the Superman cover that you see here is probably the most famous comic book cover, maybe of all time, and it's the only sole existing one from that golden age of comics. It was done in 1942 by Fred Ray at the height of the war, so it became symbolic of American idealism and American values in World War II.
What can you tell us about the cover beyond that? Is it something that's been, have you kept it around for a while?
Well, yes, I saved it from destruction, actually, that same year, 1942, as I did the other Joker cover, Batman, as well.
So it was common practice to destroy the artwork?
It was routine. Once the cover went from our offices here at D.C. to the engraver would shoot it and destroy the original, because it wasn't thought of anything more than for reproduction. Nobody thought to save it as American art, as it has become. And I saved them because I just hated to see anything that beautifully drawn. Being an artist, when I'd see Fred do this drawing, I immediately called the engraver and said, "Don't destroy that cover, send it back." And that's what I did with all the covers that I did, that I called in time. Sometimes it's heartbreaking now to think, but if I didn't call at the right time that day or the next day, don't destroy it after you shoot it, it would be routinely destroyed.
Was there something about this specific cover that you wanted to save, or was it just how great it is, or was there something specific about it?
Well, yes, because he did such a gorgeous job of visually of epitomizing the whole aura of American idealism. Superman, was the hero. He was our wartime hero. He became, really the most popular American comic art. It was distributed all over the world. Wherever our soldiers went, the comic books went with the Superman. And so the cover itself with the American Eagle, the Shield of America, and the design itself and the drawing was just so beautifully coordinated. And it became the symbol of our American war.
Now, did you save, how many covers do you think you saved over the years in that era?
Well, I don't know how many. I think these are the most iconic ones. I did save others that I thought were worthy of saving. Some of my other I worked alongside of Fred Ray, and the other side was Jack Kirby, who sat next to Mort Meskin, sat next to George Russo's, and so we had a great tier of artists. And so when I'd see one that I thought I loved and had called up in time, so I was able to save several really iconic Kirby drawings as well.
You're like a one-man preservation society.
At the time, I think I was the only one. Fortunately, I was there at the right time.
Now tell us about the Detective Comics cover here. This is one of the most famous Detective Comics covers of all time. Do you have any memories of around this cover?
Yeah, I remember the time I was drawing it. This was a very early Joker cover. I think I created the Joker just the year before. And at that time, we were still wanted to project the Joker as the great antagonist for Batman. And so he's looming over the images of Batman and Robin. So I wanted to show the menace of him, the mystery of the Joker. He's materializing out of Aladdin's lamp. This was strictly a symbolic cover. That scene never appeared in the book, but it was symbolic of the spirit of the Joker. And I tried to capture again in a design, a flat design, strong black and white. And I think it was successful in projecting the initial. I think all those initial Joker covers, which I did, helped project the initial symbolism for the Joker and established his persona.
It's a very successful cover. It's a very famous cover. DC just actually did a homage to it recently in their 75th anniversary cover set. Now, as the creator of the Joker, you must be very proud. The last few years, he really came to prominence. In The Dark Knight, he has an Oscar for the performance. It must have been a really great year for you.
Well, it was. After 88 years, every year is a good year for me. I was over in London for the last shooting of The Dark Knight, and I might tell one little incident that kind of amusing. A lot of the show, Dark Knight was shot in Chicago. Mm-hmm. I had a exhibition actually in China at that time. I went with my son, and I couldn't see the shooting in Chicago, but I went to London for the shooting of the last part of the show, The Dark Knight. And one of the scenes they shot in Chicago of Rachel being thrown out of the window by the Joker. Mm-hmm. And in London, it was actually outside of London, there's a huge studio, the largest indoor set in the world. It was made out of a World War I hippodrome, I guess they call it, where they stored barrage balloons. Mm-hmm. It was huge. And they recreated the facade of that building in Chicago where Rachel was thrown out of the window. And they shot Batman catching Rachel just before she hit the pavement. So she was thrown out of the window in Chicago and landed in London.
Batman's stronger than we ever thought.
Right.
So now, is this your favorite cover? Is this the favorite cover of all the covers you did? Is that your favorite one?
I think it's one of my favorite Joker covers, yes. Yeah. And it's unique also because the only time he was shown holding a gun, these two guns. And after that, we never showed him shooting a gun, nor did he.
Why was that?
Well, we thought the Joker, all the villains at that time were gangsters and bank robbers, and we wanted to use more clever devices for him to fight Batman. And so we wanted to show the Joker as a master villain. And I thought it was important to show that he was more clever. It was more in a literary tradition of great villains, like Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty, David and Goliath, and so forth.
All right, thanks to Jerry for talking to us. Thanks to DC Comics for having us. Thanks to Comic Connect for the entire auction. And you can check out more at iFanboy.com. Until then, we'll see you next time. Check 1, 2. Ding. Wait till this comes. 3, 2. I'm not gonna do the. I'm not gonna do the. As soon as we rolled, all the power books came through. That's how it works.